Hi students, today we are starting a new unit, Ecology. Ecology is a branch of biology which deals with interaction or interrelationships between living organisms and their surrounding. First chapter coming under this unit is Organisms and Population. Let's see what are the different levels of biological organization. You have learned in lower classes that molecules join together to form cells. Cells together form tissues. Tissues together form organs. Organs doing similar job together form organ systems. Different organ systems together form an organism. Everything below organisms is lower levels of organization. And whatever comes beyond organisms is the higher levels of organization. Organisms of a particular species together form population. Populations together form communities. Communities with abiotic factors form ecosystem. Larger ecosystem in an area in a climatic zone together form a biome. All the biomes on the surface of the earth together form biosphere. In this chapter, we will discuss about the organisms and population. What are the different components in an ecosystem? You have learned about in the lower classes. The two components in the ecosystem are biotic and abiotic components. The biotic components are the living components, which include the flora and fauna of an area. Abiotic factors or the physico-chemical factors are the non-living components which include temperature, water, light and soil. Now, let's discuss about the major abiotic factors. We'll discuss about temperature first. It is the most important abiotic factor that affects the organism as well as the environment. As you all know, average temperature decreases as we move from equator towards the poles. It ranges from sub-zero levels in polar regions and high altitudes to more than 50 degrees Celsius in tropical deserts in summer. Temperature affects the physiology of the body as it affects the enzyme kinetics and therefore basal metabolism rate. Some organisms can tolerate wide range of temperature and they are known as euthermal organisms. Examples are cat, dog, etc. But vast majority of organisms are restricted to a narrow range of temperature and they are known as stenothermal organisms. Examples are crocodile, python, penguins, etc. Tolerance of temperature determines the geographical distribution of the species. The two important terms that you have learned in this topic is euthermal and stenothermal. Water is another important abiotic factor influencing the life of an organism. Though life originated in water, some parts, such as deserts, have limited supply of water. So, only organisms that have special adaptation can survive there. As you all have learned, water is one of the most important raw material for photosynthesis. If water is available in plenty, then the productivity will increase. So, productivity and distribution of plants is highly dependent on water. You might be thinking that organisms living in oceans, lakes, rivers should not face any water related problem. But it's not true. For aquatic organisms, chemical composition and pH of water becomes very important. The salinity of different water bodies are different. Some organisms can tolerate wide range of salinity. They are known as euryhaline like mollyfish and the green crab. Some can tolerate only a narrow range of salinity and they are known as stenohaline like goldfish, haddock, etc. Many freshwater animals cannot live for long in seawater and vice versa as each adapted to their respective osmotic environment. Let's look into another important abiotic factor, that is light. Sun is the source of light on earth. Light is very important for photosynthesis. Some species can survive well in low light conditions, but some need light of high intensity. Last year, you have learned about short day plants and long day plants. Even in animals, the diurnal and seasonal variation in light affects their functions as light is very important for the activities like reproduction, migration, and foraging. The spectral quality of solar radiation is also very important for life. The UV component of the spectrum is harmful to many organisms, while not all the color components of the visible spectrum are available for marine plants living at different depths of the ocean. Soil is another important abiotic factor that affects the organism and population. As you all know, the nature and the properties of soil are dependent on various factors like weathering, climate, etc. Apart from this, other parameters such as pH, mineral composition, and topography determine the vegetation in an area. This in turn dictates the type of animal that can be supported. Let's see how organisms respond to various abiotic factors. Have you heard about homeostasis? It is the process of maintaining a constant internal environment despite of varying external conditions. Based on that, there are two main groups of organisms. The first type is regulators, which are the organisms that are able to maintain the body temperature and osmolarity. The second type is conformers. Those are the organisms that are not able to maintain the body temperature. There is a third category called as partial regulators, which are the organisms whose body temperature will be according to the external environment initially, but later they will maintain the body temperature. Let's see how regulators maintain homeostasis. The maintenance of temperature can be called as thermoregulation, and the maintenance of osmolarity can be called as osmoregulation. Examples for regulators are birds and mammals. Let's see how thermoregulation takes place in humans. During summer season, we sweat profusely, resulting evaporative cooling brings down the body temperature. During winter season, we start shivering. It's a kind of exercise which produces heat and raises the body temperature. These processes help in maintaining the internal environment. Conformers cannot maintain homeostasis. Their body temperature changes with the ambient temperature. Examples are lower groups of animals and plants. Actually, thermoregulation is energetically expensive. Heat loss or heat gain is a function of surface area. Since small animals have a large surface area relative to their volume, they tend to lose their body heat very fast when it is cold outside. Then they have to spend much energy to generate body heat through metabolism. This is the reason why very small animals are rarely found in polar region. During the course of evolution, the cause and benefits of maintaining a constant internal environment are taken into consideration. Some species have evolved the ability to regulate, but only over a limited range of environmental conditions, beyond which they simply conform. If the stressful conditions are localized or remain only for a short duration, the organism has two other alternatives. The first alternative is to migrate. The organism can move away temporarily from the stressful habitat to a more hospitable area and return when the stressful period is over. You have learned about migratory birds. They migrate during winter season to warmer places and return once the winter is over. Another alternative is suspend. It's a stage of suspended development. In bacteria, fungi, and lower plants, various kinds of thick walled spores are formed which help them to survive unfavorable conditions. Once the favorable conditions are available, they germinate. In higher plants, seeds and some other vegetative reproductive structures serve as means to tide over the periods of stress besides helping in dispersal. They germinate to form new plants under favorable moisture and temperature conditions. They do so by reducing their metabolic activity and going into a stage of dormancy. In animals, if the organism is unable to migrate, they might avoid the stress by escaping in time. One of such method is hibernation or winter sleep, which we can see in bears. Another method is estivation. Some snails and fish go to estivation to avoid summer related problems. Under unfavorable conditions, many zooplankton species in lakes and ponds are known to enter diapause, which is a stage of suspended development. In today's session, you have learned about abiotic factors and responses of organisms to the abiotic factors. With this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you, children.